Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Gibbs, and I'm the Chief Program Officer for Climate here at CLASP. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar on the best practices in air conditioner policy, experiences from Brazil, China, and India. I'm very excited about this topic. I'm looking forward to moderating what will be an informative and engaging virtual event. The three countries represented in this webinar have all made substantial advancements in their energy efficiency policies for air conditioners. These policies will deliver significant cost and energy savings benefits for consumers and businesses in these three countries. Also, given that the majority of room air conditioners are both produced and sold in these three countries, they will also influence the global air conditioner market and reduce carbon emissions from rising cooling demand in a warming world. These policies will also serve as references for countries seeking to advance their own energy efficiency programs for air conditioners. I would like to take this moment to thank our hosts, Instituto Clima y Sociedade and Energy Foundation China, for helping to organize and facilitate this event. Instituto Clima y Sociedade has been leading the Projeto Kigali in Brazil and has played a critical supporting role in the development of Brazil's energy policies for air conditioners. Similarly, the Energy Foundation China has been leading the activities of the Kigali Cooling Efficiency Program and has played an important role in supporting the development of the Chinese air conditioner policies that we will hear about today. We are grateful to our esteemed colleagues who will be sharing their knowledge and insights with us. They include T.P. Ashwin, a project engineer with India's Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Carlos Alexandre Principe Pires, Director of Energy Development at the Brazilian Ministry of Mines and Energy, Daniele Assafin Vieira, the coordinator of the Brazilian Labeling Program at the National Institute of Metrology, Liu Meng, Associate Professor at the Resource and Environment Branch of the China National Institute of Standardization, and Brian Hawley, Program Officer at the United Nations Environment Program's United for Efficiency, or U4E initiative. We are thrilled to have such a large and diverse audience participating in this virtual event, including policymakers from countries throughout Southeast Asia, Africa, Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean, as well as representatives from national and global research and civil society organizations, trade associations, and industry. We would like more than anything to be together with you all in person, but nonetheless, we're glad that we can join together across time and space to share, learn, and then act. Just a brief housekeeping announcement before we get started. Throughout the event, everyone will be muted except the speakers. However, your active engagement is welcome, and we encourage you to submit questions via the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We will have a dedicated question and answer session at the conclusion of each country's presentation, and we'll get to as many of your inquiries as possible. If we are unable to take up your questions during this session, we will respond to them separately after the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, and you will receive an email with a link to it following the event. So without further ado, I'd like to invite T.P. Ashwin, project engineer with the Indian Bureau of Energy Efficiency, to provide an overview of the India Star Labeling Program for air conditioners. After Ashwin's presentation, we'll have 10 minutes for questions and answers, which will be moderated by my colleague Neha Dhingra, who is a manager in CLASP's New Delhi office. Ashwin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Actually, good day to everyone. I'm thankful that all have joined at this critical juncture when we are facing a pandemic and lockdown, everything, and everyone is here in full heart and spirits to listen to this good webinar about policies of air conditioner. So I will just get on with, I will present Indian side of energy policies in air conditioner side, which we have developed so far. So I will just start it. Next slide. So India is a unique land of lots of targets and challenges as well. Our NDC targets, as you can see, is to reduce our emission intensity by 33 to 35% of 2005 level by 2030. So we have to reduce, we have to install 40% of our electrical power capacity by non-fossil fuels by 2030. Just a minute. I will just minimize my video. So these are two our NDC targets, and the challenges which are faced, as you know, is because of the climate change and or because of the CO2 emissions. Is that according to Ministry of Earth Science, the temperature of India might increase by 4.4 by 2100. About 173 million people. These are basically rural poor and urban poor of India will have high risk of cooling access, high risk of lack of cooling access. This given by CL report, C4 All report, the chilling report of 2020. India also ranks pretty low at 77th at Sustainability Index of United Nations. And recently, a report was also launched by Oxford Economics that the GDP of India decreased by 25% 2019 because of climate change only, and by it will decrease by 96% in 2100 due to climate change. So it's high time that we must focus on facing these challenges and to provide opportunities, because every challenge has its own is a doorway for opportunity. Next slide, please. So the major chunk in mitigating these climate change effects and the global carbon emissions is the cooling demand. The cooling demand of India is increasing at an exponential rate. It is projected by 2037-38 in 20 years, 4.5 times the cooling demand is expected to grow. The TPS requirement, that is total primary energy supply for cooling, is expected to grow by 4.5 times. And if we take suitable policy steps and effective steps, we could decarbonize this cooling sector and we can reduce the cooling energy by 25 to 40%. And this is exactly what Bureau of Energy Efficiency is trying to do for the last 19 years of after its inception. Next slide, please. We have always heard there are many economic there are energy savings is there, carbon emissions are reduced because of an sustainable and efficient and climate friendly cooling, but there are various social impacts of benefit of efficient cooling as well. You can like that like in C, global cooling access to the most vulnerable in the urban poor and the rural poor of India. They will be affected severely by droughts and severe heats in coming season. The deaths due to severe due to heat do is increasing like anything in India. So sustainable and efficient cooling will give a cooling access to the most vulnerable in the most affordable way. This is our goal, and we hope to achieve it. Energy and monetary savings are also there through air conditioner program only. Through the energy performance program of air conditioners only, we were able to have energy by 2018. And carbon emissions, if you say, we mitigated around 65 million ton of carbon dioxide, increased well-being of people. There is a report by Indian Institute of increase by 12% at least if thermal comfort, optimum thermal comfort is given. Optimal thermal comfort means neither too high, neither too low, but the effective one which makes you comfortable enough to do your work and increase your efficiency. Ease of food, nutrition, and vaccine. This is the most pivotal. Now we are facing a pandemic, and in which the search for vaccines is going on, and we are dependent on these vaccines. But this vaccine won't be delivered to the farthest, to the vulnerable, and to the downtrodden people. There is not a perfect structure of cold chain structures. So the cold chain structures are important for delivering these vaccines and immunization. The Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization just said that only 10% of the countries have the enough cold chain structures for storing the vaccines properly. So there is a huge potential in strengthening the cold chain or throughout the countries. Next slide, please. So we just saw that how much cooling demand is increasing, what are the benefits of cooling. So for giving to give a sustainable and efficient and climate friendly cooling to all, India has taken several steps in for providing the same. India Cooling Action Plan, like the Green Cooling Action Plan of China, I think it is a 20-year vision document which gives a policy which projects how much cooling demand is going to. Understood the problem through this. We understood how much cooling demand is going to increase, and we now know what is the cooling demand going to increase. And for solving that problem, we have listed ICAP has listed, India Cooling Action Plan has listed several policy steps to counter this problem and how to effectively reduce the cooling demand by 25 to 40%. And ECBC, Energy Conservation Building Code, is Energy Conservation Building Code is also one of the document of Bureau of Energy Efficiency, in which buildings are commercial and residential buildings are designed so that optimum cooling and efficient is done, and in the most energy efficient way. Global cooling price, as you might have all heard, it was launched in November 2019, I think, yes, and it was November 2018, I think, and it was going the finalist will be awarded $2 million to develop a prototype for an air conditioner which is 5 times less, which has 5 times less impact on the climate, 4 times more efficient than the standard AC available in the market, and which is only twice the normal price of an air conditioner of a 1.5 ton AC. So this provide a huge impetus and boost for R&D, and we have now 8 finalists who are competing, and I think the result will be announced in next year. And the last and the this energy and Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the most pivotal part of Bureau of Energy Efficiency standards and labeling program, in which we set the energy performance indices of household appliances and commercial appliances in a rating from 1 to 5 level, 1 being the least efficient and 5 being the okay, I think I should speak a little slow. Huh. 1 being the least efficient and 5 being the most efficient. So we have launched the standards energy performance indices for appliances like AC, air conditioners, refrigerators, ceiling fans, chillers, deep freezers, light commercial air conditioners. Also, we have made that all air conditioners which are B approved shall have a default setting of 24-degree. That is, whenever you turn on the AC, it will start at 24-degree, and according to your use, you can either increase or decrease the temperature of AC. Next slide, please. As we are focusing on AC program itself, inverter AC program, I will just give you an inception how the AC program developed. It was launched in voluntary mode. Voluntary mode means the manufacturers can either fix a star label or they can't, or they don't have to. There is no mandatory requirement of fixing the label on it, or label on AC. And in 2009, we made it mandatory that all ACs which are sold till 3 ton have to have B star rating on it. B star is 1 to 5 star rating, 1 being the least efficient and 5 being the most efficient. In 2009, we covered only the window AC and split AC. Okay. In 2011, we covered cassette AC and floor mounted AC as well. In 2012, we jumped 1 star, means the earlier 2 star became 1 star. This happened in 2014 also. The 2000 for the one star upgradation happened. The 2 star became 1 star. In 2015, inverter AC was launched in the voluntary mode. In till 2018, the energy performance index of our program, labeling program, energy efficiency parameter was EER, energy efficiency ratio. In 2018, we made IC, Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio, for both fixed speed and inverter AC, and we made 1 star rating table, being technologically agnostic, and we made from 2018 onwards by jumping 2 stars. In 2021, in the next year, 1 star upgradation will happen. Next slide, please. This is just a gist of what I was saying. You can see we started our journey, India's journey of air conditioner labeling program by 1 star at 2.3. Okay, now if you see, we are following the second last column. Okay, the 5 star of 2009, 3.1, that is, has become the 1 star of our. So the 5 star, which was the most efficient 10 years ago, has become the least efficient in the present table, that is from 2018 to June 2021. Next year we will upgrade this one more, and our MEPS, that is 1 star, will become 3.3 and our 5 star will become 5. The first table is of split air conditioner in unitary. Because of the size constraints, the much upgradation hasn't happened. You can see the table down, and we periodically, mostly 2 years, we make revisions in our air conditioner program, so that to make it more energy efficient, so that consumers may opt for more energy efficient items, and the manufacturers can also give them at a more affordable and competitive price. Next slide, please. Now, the inception of IC, Indian Seasonal Energy Efficiency Ratio, started because there was the market of air conditioner were already going. It happened to touch 7.6 and 7.2 in 2018. ISO 16358 was also published. In this, the SEER methodology, which takes into effect of all the climatic conditions and AC usage hours, was discussed in threadbare. So and the inverter AC also started rising. A market also started rising. In 2015, there was only little market, but the inverter AC, we thought its potential is huge, and we made a program based on IC methodology for inverter AC at the start. Next slide, please. So for making this methodology, we studied the inverter market size. In 2014 and 15, we studied the inverter market size. We identified ISO 16358 as our Bible for setting the standards for our policies. We examined the weather profiles from ISHRE and our meteorological department from 57 Indian cities spread across 5 climatic zones. AC usage hours was also studied, and we made temperature bins. If you see in ISO 16358, these temperature bins are also there. In that, I think it is from 21 to 35. But as India has a higher temperature also. So we made our bins from 24 degree to 43 degree. This 24 to 43 degree represents the ambient temperature which occurs across the India, and we took average annual hours. Wait a second. I think my video, I will just stop my video. Okay, is it better? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, no problem.
Proceed.
So from 24 to 43, the ambient hours have different weightages. Like 27 has the most weightage. It has 11.4% of weightage out of 100. 26 has the second most weightage, and 43, which occurs in remote parts of Rajasthan and other parts as well. For some time, it has 0.2. So based on that, we took a fraction of all the temperature bins, and we made proportionate hours, and we took the proportionate hours in 1600. Based on this, we made an Excel, so that if you put only your cooling capacity and power consumption results from after testing your air conditioner, you can get IC based on these temperature conditions, and we will get an IC. So the and this IC tool is available freely. The manufacturers can download it, and they test their air conditioner. They take their values and put it, and they get their IC values. So based on this IC, we gave the star rating to every AC. Next slide. Now the next challenge for us was to develop the star rating tiers. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So For that, can everyone hear? So for that, we took 4 samples from 4 manufacturers and tested it in 3 labs. Okay, and also as this is an inverter AC, we had to test it at multiple. We can test it at multiple load settings also, but we tested it at 50%, and we calculated the IC and through the IC tool, and we saw the results, and accordingly we developed the IC table for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 star, and IC methodology was launched in 2015. And there were also 2 to 3 technical committee meetings also happened where we discussed this methodology and inputs from stakeholders, industries, everyone. From everyone we took the inputs, and this was discussed in Threadware, and this IC methodology was launched. The right side shows the label of our AC. As you can see, it is 1 to 5 star. This one is the label of 4 star. IC, our star parameter is written 4.2. The label period which you are seeing is little old. The label period means for which period this label is valid. Then we have appliance type, model type, cooling capacity at 100%, cooling capacity at 50%, electricity consumption, whether it is variable speed compressor, yes or no, heat pump is available, yes or no. So these all are details present in our label. So it's a perfect tool for perfect label for the consumers also, so that they could understand what details are being provided by the AC. And manufacturers are also can also be good and can display all the energy performance parameter in a most open way. So that's how we developed this IC methodology. And next slide, please. What is the impact? This is the most important thing. See, this gives the average performance, IC performance of air conditioner which is sold in our market. Weighted average IER ECR, okay, which is sold in the market. Okay, if you see in 2016 it was 3.3, in 2017 it jumped to 3.7. A 14% jump was noticed here. That was because in 2015 we launched the IC program, and because of the IC program there was a huge, and the weighted average increased a lot. Okay, next slide please. You can see here the red ones are the unitary air conditioner. It shows how much the increase in the energy efficiency took place with respect to 1 to 5 star levels. In 5 star, in split air conditioners, 61% jump was noticed from 2009 table and 2020 table. Similarly, in 1 star, 43%, that is MEPS increased by 43% in 1 star. 74 billion units of electricity savings was done, and 60 million ton of carbon dioxide emissions were mitigated by 2018 only due to this air conditioner labeling program. And through air conditioner labeling program, 10% of the INDC targets can also be met. This was launched in one of the TERI and NRDC report, I think. Next slide. You can see after the launch of the program in 2015, only 1% of the inverter AC market was there. Now after the launching of the program, 54%, and we expect this will go to 60%. 54% of the market is has become inverted. So market transformation has taken in a good way and in an efficient way. Next slide, please. The key takeaways are that what is the advantages of IC program? IC program gave us a single energy performance index for different climatic conditions, and it also considered the AC usage hours. Okay, and IC methodology led us to develop a technology agnostic program for both fixed and variable ACs, because there is a single star rating table for both fixed and inverter ACs. There is no differentiation. IC also pushed the market towards the more energy efficient ACs. The inverter ACs became increased from 4% in 2015 to 54% in 2018. And also it provide a benchmarking for comparing with other countries also, because other countries also, I think Korea, China, other, I think Brazil also, I don't know. They might be using the IC methodology, other methodology also, IC methodology itself. So we can compare and we can see where we stand, because the benchmarking is most important, so that we should know what is the ceiling level for us, so that we could attain us that. Okay, next slide please. I think this is the last one. I thank you. If you have any doubts, you can visit our bstarlabel.com. You can also drop an email to me. It was nice that you all joined. I am ready for taking any questions. I think I will hand over to Neha, who will coordinate the Q&A. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ashwin, for that intriguing presentation. I think it very well captures the essence of the labeling program, the cooling policy coverage, and particularly room air conditioner labeling program's journey with reference to fixed as well as inverters air conditioners in India. So without further ado, I'd like to start with the Q&A. So one of the questions that we have received from the audience is that refrigerants also have huge contribution towards the greenhouse gas emission. And at the moment, BEE's labeling program does not take refrigerant into consideration. So is there any such plan in future by the Bureau?
See, actually the refrigerant, the use of refrigerant in air conditioner is handled by another ministry, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Ozone Cell per se, because they are looking after the refrigerant use in the market. And wait a second. They are looking after the refrigerant usage, but some talks have already happened that that we may incorporate the refrigerant details in our label also, and we make it some green label also, so that it is more eco-friendly as well, climate friendly and energy efficient as well. So these are all still early talks, but we hope it may materialize.
So that's good to know. Then we have another question, which is that a lot of people have heard about the natural refrigerant, particularly from one of the manufacturers in India. So that is a contributor to GHG reduction. Do you have any view on that? Although I'm sure that BE does not support any particular manufacturer or particular brand or certain efficiency, but then is there any view on the kind of refrigerants?
Actually, just like I said, the refrigerant is not in our per se, but as Kigali agreement has also said that the change of refrigerant also has a huge some impact on energy efficiency as well. But we still haven't taken into that consideration. We might take it up in the future, and we are also, as I just said, we are in discussion with MOFCC, and I think refrigerant must be taken into account in the near future.
Mhm. Then we have an efficiency related question directly linking with your presentation, that how difficult was it for Bureau to change from EER to IC as an energy efficiency parameter? Because I'm sure at the time there must have been a lot of changes, analysis, and manufacturers also had to adopt to a new methodology. So if you could just cite one or two key challenges that you might have faced at the time.
The change is always difficult for us as human beings. We are always not susceptible to change. So the earlier there was restraints also, because for us also this was a new thing. The ISO 16358 was launched in 2013 only, and for us understanding it and launching it took about 2 years as well. And we had to do 2 to 3 technical committee meetings. But what I must say that industry came forward, and they took the challenge. They took proactive interest in this, and they also contributed in make they also helped in giving us the samples, free samples. They gave free samples for testing the air conditioner, and we tested those air conditioner, developed the IC methodology. We discussed again in these technical committee meetings, and finally they were on board. In 2015 we launched, if you have witnessed, in 2015 we launched the IC methodology, but still we didn't made it mandatory till 2018, because in 3 years we gave enough time, enough understanding, enough explanation to the industry, and the industry also accepted it. And in 2018, it was made mandatory. So there was challenge, but we overcame it, thankfully.
That's good to know. Then we have another question from one of the audience, which is that is window type air conditioner also using inverter technology? Are these type of ACs available in India?
Yeah. There are, but it's a very rare. But there are some manufacturers who are making inverter window air conditioners, and they are usually 5-star rated. There are manufacturers.
Mhm. Then I have my next question is, can you comment on consumer perception about inverter air conditioners as to whether they understand the benefits of the labeling program for inverter air conditioners, and has that impacted the penetration levels in India or as well as the market transformation?
Yeah. For Indian consumers, it was difficult for us to make the star rating visible. In 2009, there was not even people were not even aware that the star rating was there. But in now, the star rating has become a brand and a national brand, and everyone, whenever he buys an AC, second question is that which star rating is that. So it has impacted, the star rating has impacted the consumer's mindset. And inverter AC also, we have made several regional level training programs, and we have made the consumers aware that energy, we can't push that inverter ACs have to be purchased. We always push for 5-star rating, that consumers must push for 5-star rating, because we are technology agnostic. We have a technology agnostic program. We don't support any technology as per se. We support that you should buy 5-star AC, and that's why we are imbibing in the minds of the consumers. And manufacturers are also pushing to buy for 4 stars, that is 5-star, 4-star, or 3-star. So that's how we are doing. Not per se that inverter AC as well, but for 5-star. But if you see the market, the 4 and 5-star ACs of all split ACs are inverter AC only. The 3-star, in 3-star, I think 1 to 3-star fixed ACs are there, but from 3 to 5 stars, all are inverter ACs. So naturally, if you go for higher star rating, you will go for inverter AC only.
So my next question is, now that you've spoken at length about the history and the evolution of the labeling program for air conditioners as well as the coverage of cooling policies, can you spend a minute or so elaborating a little bit about the future plans of inclusion of new cooling appliances as well as strengthening the efficiency of the existing appliances under the program?
Okay. And now next year, a 1-star upgradation of the present AC table will also happen. And we have also the present AC program was till 310. And for 310 to 510 air conditioners, that is a big, large air conditioner, light commercial air conditioner, we used to call it. The voluntary program was launched in 3rd March 2020. And chiller also a commercial equipment which is sold 1 million tonnage every year in India. We have launched that program as well on 2018. In future, if you must say, I think we are looking after air coolers, evaporative based air coolers. We are looking after packaged air conditioners. We are looking after VRF. So all cooling sectors, because cooling, we want to cover the whole cooling sector, and because the cooling sector is going to the next big thing. If we can control and tame down this cooling demand, I must say, then I think the half of the battle of climate change is already won. So we are looking to cover all the cooling devices. The next 3 will be, as I said, packaged air conditioner, VRF, and desert evaporative based air coolers, and making ceiling fans mandatory also.
Thank you so much, Ashwin, for the wonderful responses. I think we've captured, for a change. I mean, it's very rare that we can respond to all the questions in a webinar in the interest of time, but we've been able to, and thank you so much for the intriguing presentation and all your responses. Now I will hand it over to Eric for taking us to the next set of presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashwin, for that informative presentation, and Neha for adroitly handling all of the questions and answers. Now I'd like to introduce Carlos Alexandre Principe Pires. Calex is the Director of Energy Development at the Brazilian Ministry of Mines and Energy, and he will be followed by Daniele Asafin Vieira, Coordinator of the Brazilian Labeling Program at the National Metrology Institute, or in Metro. They will also be followed, their presentations will be followed by a question and answer session, which will be moderated by Camila Borges, who is the project coordinator for the Projeto Kigali at the Instituto Clima y Sociedade. Kalex, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everybody. Good morning from Brazil, of course. I'm gonna give you an idea, an overall idea of what are the public policies related to air conditioners in Brazil, related to energy efficiency, of course. Next slide, please. Well, first of all, I always present the starting point of Brazil in terms of energy efficiency, because some of the countries in this session have different starting points or motivations in terms of energy efficiency. First of all, Brazil is one of the cleanest energy matrix in the world. So we are saying that in 2029, according to our national plan, we are going to reach something around 50% of renewable energy in our matrix. In terms of electricity, it goes far from a little bit more than 80% of renewable energy in electricity. So our motivations are a little bit different from some other countries. Please, next. In terms of our national plan, we are expecting to reach in 2029 something around 40 terawatt hour of energy efficiency, which means that it's going to be something around 5% of the potential consumed in 2029. Next, please. Another. Well, in terms of energy efficiency policies in our country, our first program remains to 1984, which is the labeling program. 1 year later, we launched the Procel program, which is the National Program for Electricity Conservation in our country. And it has several different sub-programs, including the Procel CEO, which I'm going to explain later. Well, another important milestone was in 2000, year 2000, we launched a law that regulates and defines that 0.5% of the net operating revenue of the distribution companies must be invested in energy efficiency. Well, in 2001, we published the National Energy Efficiency Law, which defines the establishment of maps for appliances and equipment. In 2011, we launched a set of directives for energy efficiency, which was called the National Plan for Energy Efficiency, and we are revisiting this now, and I'm gonna talk it later. And in 2016, another law was approved, giving Procel enough funding for annual resource application plans. Next, please. Well, regarding the energy efficiency law, as I said, it was launched in the year 2001, and it established the national policy for conservation and rational use of energy, assigning the executive power, which means the Ministry of Power, Mines and Energy, the establishment of maps in our country. And it was, it is also regulated by decrees. And in 2019, it was reviewed, establishing a steering committee on energy efficiency indicators and levels, CGIEE, which I had at the moment. Next, please. Something important to mention is that every single regulation, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different appliances regulated. Each of them has to be studied. There is a study of impacts and also a public consultation regarding the minimum standards, so that manufacturers and society in general can give their opinion on how restrictive and how the schedules and the deadlines and the minimum standards can be feasible in terms of public policy. Next, please. Well, in 2018, we reviewed our minimum standards for air conditioners, establishing the minimum of 3.02 of watts per watt for split air conditioners. And for window type, this table shows all the categories. Well, the problem is that since 2007, we didn't have any revision of these minimum standards, and for many reasons. We had some problems with industry, we had some problems with tax reductions applied only for A-class air conditioners, and we had also some problems with the methodology for testing the air conditioners. But this I'm gonna let my colleague from Matri to present after me. Well, next slide, please. Well, in 2019, we established new standards, or better, we studied new standards for air conditioners. And one of the strategies would be to review the standard we had recently established in 2018. But after some discussions, we understood that it would be more interesting for the society and for the manufacturers to establish new energy efficiency classes from A to F, and keep the minimum standards in the class F for energy efficiency for 2023. At first, we wanted to start the mandatory action in 2021, but we understood that because of the lack of methodology for testing inverters, we understood that it would be better to postpone to 2023, the beginning of 2023. So for air conditioners, we have two different sets of energy efficiency, one for 2023 and the other for the beginning of 2026. With all the different classes already established, giving the manufacturers an idea and prediction for investments in new lines of production and etc. So as you can see, the new standards for A classes is gonna be 5.5 in 2023 and 7 in 2026, with the cooling seasonal performance factor already established, the methodology of testing already established. Next, please. To do that, we, with the crucial help from Instituto Clima e Sociedade and CLASP, we could understand the effects, the direct effects, the impacts of this policy of establishing maps and new standards for classes in labeling program. We could see that the direct impact would be something around 10 gigawatt of avoid generation capacity in 2035. This represents something around 30% of the national determined contribution for electricity sector in our country, which is part of our Paris Agreement commitment. And we also studied and found out that 38 terawatt hour of energy could be saved in 2035 in cumulative numbers. Next, please. Well, this is only for giving you an idea of how the three programs, MAPS, Labeling Program, and Procel work together in order to accomplish the market transformation in our country for energy efficiency. As you can see, one of the areas of expertise of the national program is the Procel, which represents more than 80% of the results of the national program. Next, please. And then Procel as an endorsement label, it plays a very important role in market transformation because it shows for the manufacturers what we intend to be, our goal in terms of energy efficiency for the future. So far, the Procel seal is given for those appliances that are in the A class of the labeling program. In the short future, we are planning to change a little bit the strategy so that the Procel endorsement label can represent a mix of strategy at the same time as an endorsement label, but also given something like the Top Runner program in Japan, which means that for some time we can have very few appliances with the Procel seal, aiming that all the rest of the market can reach the same level of energy efficiency in the future. Next, please. Well, and as I said, Procel, the national program, the Procel program, the MAPS and the labeling program, they work together because all the other expertise areas of Procel have to take advantage of these energy efficiency labels and endorsements and etc. to accomplish the other programs. For example, in Procel we have the energy efficiency for buildings that use the label of air conditioner, building, the labeling program for buildings too, and so on and so forth. And dissemination of ISO 50001 also use the label to implement activities and actions for energy efficiency, retrofits, and etc. Next, please. The other two important actions that I should put emphasis at this moment is the improving methodology for monitoring the results obtained with energy efficiency actions. This is very important for us now, especially taking into consideration the new standard for air conditioners and the following strategy for refrigerators and some other appliances like air conditioners for commercial use, for example. But we are also under construction for a new plan for energy efficiency in our country. As I said before, the last plan remains to 2011, and we are now preparing a revisitation of this energy plan with all the identification of energy efficiency potentials in any sector of the economy, defining the main actions to be taken in each sector, and following up the energy efficiency auction. The energy efficiency auction is something that we are intending to launch by the end of this year. It's under development by the national regulator, and it aims to represent a pioneer initiative in which we're gonna pay for some institution, private sector or distribution company to reduce their demand and to reduce their energy demand, so that we can postpone the auctions for increasing the power capacity in our country. I think this is the last slide. Next, please. Oh, this is. So I'd like to thank you very much for your attention and give the word for my colleague from Inmetro.
So good morning, everyone from Brazil. Thank CLASP, thank X for the invitation. Thank all the participants for being here. I'm Daniele from Inmetro, Brazil. And first, I would like to give you a brief overview about Inmetro and the Brazilian labeling program. So please, next. Inmetro is the executive body of Sinmetro, which is the Brazilian National Metrology, Standardization and Industrial Quality System. Inmetro is the federal agency responsible for the Brazilian labeling program. The Brazilian labeling program exists since 1984, as Carlos Alexandre just mentioned, and become one of the most important strategies to implement the 2001 energy efficiency law in Brazil. The labeling for air conditioners started in 2006, and since then, 4 revisions to the energy efficiency classification criteria have been carried out. But the latest review was one of the most groundbreaking. Just for curiosity, a 2015 study conducted by Inmetro found that 91% of the consumers recognize the comparative label, which we call an NC, and almost 80% said that they understood the label. Almost 70% said that they would pay 10% more for the highest efficient products. So please, next. Although its long existence and its success, we faced some problems in the program for air conditioners in Brazil. So since 2018, there were just A and B as energy efficiency categories due to the higher maps. 77% of the products in the market were in A class. And in this class, in the A class, the difference between the lowest and the highest energy consumption achieved 60%. Besides all that, it was not possible to distinguish the inverter AC's gains in energy consumption because all the products were tested by the full load method. So as a result, the AC labeling lost its effectiveness. Consumers could no longer distinguish between higher and lower efficiencies. Actually, this means a rebound effect in which consumers tended to believe that all products in A were equally economical, and it was not true at all. The label was losing its strength to induce the industry to supply more efficient products with higher technology. So, please next. We needed to change all that, but we also faced some challenges. So first of them was getting good information. And the way we overcome it was the cooperation with CLASP X and all the Kigali network. This cooperation was crucial for Inmetro to frame the problem and learn about international trends and best practice. Another challenge was defining test method and its parameters. So we count on the National Electric Energy Conservation Program, Procel, in Brazil. So Procel has conducted a study on the partial load method and seasonal metrics, which helped Inmetro to select ISO 16358 Part 1 and define the temperature set for the tests. Besides, this study determined the specific Brazilian bin numbers based on the 2019 survey on electrical appliance use and possessions, also run by Procel. Another challenge was rescaling the label in CSPF. So how to rescale the label if all our measures and all our database was in EER. So inspired by the Indian experience, Inmetro coordinated a task force with the industry. So 34 split ACs from 9 different suppliers were tested by the partial load method and had their efficiency measured by CSPF. Lawrence Berkeley National Lab from California helped Inmetro to treat the data. We found out that 90% of the tested split ACs already reach the CSPF of 5.5. And the last but not least, the challenge of conquering the industry commitment. The industrial commitment was crucial to the success of the improvement process. If in the beginning they were resistant to change, in the end they were collaborating and acting together to obtain better results. And dialogue is the key always. So we did some advances. So how was it and how will it be? The scope didn't change at all. So the labeling program in Brazil covers the window air conditioners and split system type, floor ceiling, cassette, and high wall with cooling capacity up to 6,000 BTU per hour, and it remains the same. The labeling levels change a lot. So I brought here the advances regarded to the split units. So our A level was in 3.23 EER, and it switched to 5.5 by 2022. And there will be another target. There is another target for 2025, which is 7 CSPF for the new A level. The test method has changed also. So we tested on full load only, And now we will test on partial load, and the metric will be seasonal according to the ISO 16358 part 1. Okay, please, next. So we do have some phases of implementation. So the new criteria, they were published in July of this year. And there is a deadline for suppliers to adopt the new label, which is December, the very end of December 2022. The retailers also have their deadline, so they can sell, they have to sell ACs just with the new label from June of 2024. So we call this period as transition period, where it will be possible to find products on the market with the old and also with the new label. So both labels can be found in the market during this transition period. But after June of 2024, the new label will be totally implemented. But also there is the new target for 2025. We set the new A47 CSPF. So we also will have some deadlines for that. And from June of 2027, the higher level criteria will be totally implemented. So please, next. So I think this is the last slide about the expected impacts. Carlos Alexandre from MME also talked a little bit about these impacts. I also brought some data, some numbers. So according to the analysis developed by Kigali Network in Brazil, supported by the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, the following impacts are expected. So first, we separated the analysis into phases. When the level A is at 5.5 CSPF, and the other phase when the level A is at 7 CSPF. So the increase on price because of the more efficient products will be okay for the consumers. The payback of the investment in the average AC occurs in 4 months when the level A is at 5.5 CSPF, and this payback occurs in 8 months when the CSPF is at 7.7, when the level A is at 7 CSPF. So it's expected to have almost 3,000 gigawatt hour of energy savings from 2021 to 2025. The energy savings from 2026 to 2035 will be sort of 54,000 gigawatt hour. The energy saving only in 2035 is equivalent to almost 21% of the projected Brazilian AC consumption. So from 2021 to 2025, the emissions avoided will be around 1.3 megatons, and from 2026 to 2035, the emissions avoided will be around 25.4 megatons. The emissions avoided only in 2035 is equivalent to 22% of the AC projected emissions in 2035. The peak demand reduction in 2035 will be around almost 3,000 megawatts, This is equivalent to avoid 3 thermoelectric plants of Santa Cruz in Rio de Janeiro. So those are the expected impacts of this initiative and of this improvement on the air conditioning labeling. I think that's all. The next slide is just goodbye and thank you for, here are the contacts of Inmetro. And thank you everybody for the attention. I'm here and I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you all for your presentations. Thank you, Calex. Thank you, Danielle, very well presentations. And also, I would like to thank CLASP and the China Energy Foundation for co-host this important webinar. So let me go directly to the questions. I sum up the question directed to Calex and then the questions directed to Danielle. And please feel free to make questions using the Q&R point there. So Danielle, Federico Munoz is asking about the Brazilian laboratories' conditions to test according to the new seasonal metrics adopted in Brazil. He also asks if it's the case to establish around the Robbian exercises to improve the state of the art of these Brazilian labs. If you can talk about the laboratory infrastructure in Brazil, that would be nice. Calex, we have many questions to you, and I will start with the one from Rodolfo. He's asking about the schedule for the new revision of AC maps in Brazil. When will it occur? And also he points out that what's the perception of the Ministry of Mines and Energy of energy efficiency as a means to reducing the production costs and improving the household affordability to pay their electricity bills. Tarun asks if Brazilian government has any scheme to subsidize high efficient products. And finally, Conrado asks if is there any relationship between the energy efficiency policies and the Brazilian NDC. Please, Danielle, and then Calex.
Okay, so I think that for me, I have to answer the laboratory infrastructure question, right? Okay, so we do have one accredited laboratory in Brazil, accredited to the new standard 16358. So Labelo is already accredited on this standard, and also there is CEPEL. CEPEL is through the process to be accredited in this new standard. CEPEL and Labelo, they are under their round testing, lobbying test. So I believe that within 1 month we have the final reports that will compare the measures between the laboratories. But also there is another challenge, which is compare the measures among between industry and also the accredited laboratories. We know that, and we are thinking ways to overcome this challenge.
Thank you very much, Danielle. Calex?
Thank you. Well, the first question was about the perception of MME in terms of means of reducing the production cost and improvement in household affordability to pay their electric bill. So, well, in fact, as I showed you in one of my first slides, motivations in Brazil are a little bit different from other countries. Of course, we have our engagement to Paris Agreement, and we are committed to the Paris Agreement. We have our NDCs, but if you see the percentage of participation of the electricity sector or the energy sector in our NDC, you're gonna see that it's not too much in participation. Most of our NDC has to do with deforestation and reduction of the use of the Amazon jungle and the use of soil. So for us, the reduction of household pay for electricity bills is something very important. And it's also important the possibility to give manufacturers the possibility to be more productive and more competitive among other manufacturers in the world. So this is something that we have in our concerns, but some responsibility of the Ministry of Mines and Energy, of course, the affordability to pay the electricity bill, but others not so much. So we have always to talk and to deal with other ministries that are in charge of industry development and etc. Well, regarding the second questions, the schedule for the new revision of AC maps, we are now preparing two different maps. One is, as Daniele showed, is for 2025. Okay, the new maps for 2025 to go in parallel with the new standards, the new methodology for inverters and the new classification of the labeling, energy efficiency label. And also we are studying air conditioners for commercial use and chillers. Besides that, we are also studying other appliances like refrigerators, and we are depending on the results of our energy efficiency plan that will be launched by the end of this year to see exactly what are the main appliances to be addressed in the future. Well, what else? The ownership of air conditioners in Brazil, it's something around 17–18%. But we are expecting to have this increased up to 30% in 2035. Well, in terms of subsidies for energy efficiency appliances, yes, and well, in different ways. One is, of course, something that I've already mentioned, is the tax reduction for energy efficiency appliances. Nowadays it's only for for refrigerators. So this is something we have to deal with in the future to implement new maps for refrigerators. This is an initiative that remains to the time we had the crisis in 2008. It was a countermeasure to increase the demand for and to help the GDP in our country. Well, but also we have some other initiatives to maximize the use of energy efficiency appliance. One, of course, is the money that is used by distribution companies in our country because of the law that I mentioned that was approved in 2001. Most of the programs that deals with substitution of appliances and equipment, most of them are implemented with money from distribution companies. And of course that we, it's an obligation, of course, that these programs have to use products, appliances with classification A in labeling program, or the Procel CO to be sold within these initiatives. Anything I forgot?
Yes, two more questions and we finalize. The first one is, what are the relationship among the energy efficiency policies and the Brazilian NDC? And the other one is for both Daniele and Kalex. And Mr. Kumar is asking if there are any simulation tools used by Brazil for energy efficiency and to improve air quality index in the building sector. And then we finalize. Thank you.
Okay. Well, complementing my answer related to the ownership of air conditioners, I mentioned that we have something around 17–18% of ownership in our country. And regarding the policies related to NDC, the Paris Agreement, our commitment to the Paris Agreement says that our NDC is a global NDC. I mean that global in terms of economy-wide NDC in our country. So our target is to reduce 37% of emissions in 2030 related to 2005, if I'm not wrong. So it's an overall NDC. We don't have targets specific to the electricity sector or to energy sector. But anyway, we have some goals that would be side targets that say that we aim to reduce 10% of our electricity consumption in 2030, compared to the expectation of use of electricity in 2030. So this is something that is part of our NDC target. Yeah. The other question, if Daniele could start, I can complement.
Okay. If we have simulation tools for energy efficiency and to improve air quality index in building. So about improving air quality index in building, I can't answer. But regarding energy efficiency, I can say that we learned a lot from Kigali Network, from CLASP, and in this experience of improvement, the air conditioner labeling. So they brought to Inmetro, to the Brazilian government, several simulation tools that were really useful for us to analyze and to support our decision in the improvement process. So it was a kind of pilot, and I hope that all the tools that we learned, I hope that we internalize in our decision process for the other experiences also.
Well, from my side, just want to add some comments, because this is something we are still studying in the Ministry of Mines and Energy. Would be the side effects of energy efficiency. This is not something that we are experts, so we are looking for international assessment to implement those side effects, especially because there are so many, as I said, there are so many different aspects of energy efficiency that are also important, like the employees directly connected to energy efficiency, and they improve the increase of GDP because of energy efficiency and something like that. And also air quality is something that is in our radar to study in the short future.
Thank you again so much for your contribution, your presentations. I will go back to Eric. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Camilla, and thank you, Calex and Daniele, for the truly comprehensive presentations and explanation of air conditioner policies in Brazil. And Calex, I must say, I wish that the law requiring distribution companies to set aside a portion of revenue for energy efficiency, I wish we could replicate that for every distribution company in the world. Would certainly create a massive fund. Sorry, I didn't realize my video was not on. Apologies for that. I wish we could replicate that Brazilian law everywhere in every country. So thank you for the detailed explanations and the Q&A. I'm now pleased to introduce Liu Meng, Associate Professor at the Resources and Environment Branch of the China National Institute of Standardization. He will give an overview of China's new policies for room air conditioners, which will be followed by a question and answer session moderated by Han Wei, the Deputy Director of Industry Programs at the Energy Foundation, China. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm very glad to be here to share our Chinese maps and labeling for room air conditioners with all of you. Next, please. Yep. In China, we released our maps for the first time in 1989. And since then, we have updated this standard for five times. And last year, we updated the our maps for the fifth time. And now we have a new maps. And I should say we made significant changes in this revision. Because before this revision, we actually have two national maps for fixed speed air cons and variable speed air cons respectively. And after this revision, we merged these two maps into one. So now we have only one map for all the room air conditioners. And also in these new maps, we didn't classify the air cons into fixed speed and variable speed anymore. Instead, we included three types of air cons in this standard. That is the heat pump room air cons, the cooling only room air cons, and also we included a new type that is the low ambient temperature air source heat pump air heaters. So now actually in these maps, we have the energy efficiency grades for these three types of air cons. And in these maps, for the heat pump type and cooling only types, we have 5 grades for them. And for the heat pump air heaters, we have 3 grades. And in all of them, the grade 1 is the most efficient one. So I would say after this revision, actually our Chinese maps reached the same level as the other advanced international maps like the European maps and US and Japan and all the others. So we are very proud of that. Next, please. And for the energy labeling, actually we established the energy labeling program in 2005. And after that, almost every time we revise our maps, we revise the labeling too. So that means after we updated our map, we updated our and labeling. Actually, in the past 5 years, we made a great changes to our and the labeling. Like we see, the biggest change is we have included the QR code into our labeling. It's very, I should say, very great changes, because when we included this QR code for all the stakeholders and for the customers, they can only scan up this QR code, and then they will get the information they want, and also they could get much more additional information, like the repair and maintenance information, and the also the product manuals, and all of many other information. So it makes the whole things very convenient. So since we have included 3 types of air count in our maps, we have accordingly we have 3 entry labeling for the air counts respectively. This one is for the heat pump air count. Next, please. This one is for the cooling only air count. Next one, please. And this one is for the heat pump air heaters. Next one, please. And changes. During these revisions, when we updated these standards, so as I just mentioned, what we want from this revision is that we want to phase out the fixed speed air cons. So after the merge of the 2 standards for fixed speed and variables, now actually we made big changes for the efficiency and the efficiency metrics from EER for the fixed speed air count to APF. So theoretically, the only way for this change is to test and measure the fixed speed air count by following the APF method, and then calculate the APF corresponding values to ER values. It's very complicated mathematical things. So the problem then comes out. That is, there are multiple corresponding APF values to 1 ER values, rather than 1-to-1 match, as we show as an example in this slide. You can see, let's see, for the grid one, the ER value is 5.6, but for the APF is in a value range from 5.58 to 5.04. So that means we should choose the only value for APF by further market survey, testing, and analysis. Next one, please. Stakeholder involvement. I would see, since we developed and released all maps 30 years ago, we have a great stakeholders involvement in the whole process of the development of our maps and the labeling. You can see there's many great bands in the aircon industry. Green Media, Haier, Changhong, all of them are Chinese great band, and also we have the other international corporations, the manufacturers located in China, like the Sanyang, Mitsubishi, and Panasonic, and Daikin, and all of them. So I would see we actually included almost all the important manufacturers, in the development process. And actually, every time when we wanted to update our standard, first we will form a drafting team, and at this step, almost all the stakeholders, including the manufacturers, they will be members of this drafting team, and so they could be part of the whole process from the very beginning of the development of the standard and to the end of the development of this standard. They will be part of the research, they will be part of the comment collection, and they will be part of a market survey. So I think they are everyone in the whole process. Next one, please. Actually, besides the widely involvement in the development of national maps and labeling, recent years we have launched another very important program for stakeholders involvement. That is, we call it the Enterprise and Forerunner program. In this program, all the manufacturers are encouraged to develop their own enterprises standards with higher energy requirement for producing aircons. That is, much higher efficiency than what we have in our national maps. So that's kind of like the top runner things, but is that the difference? And we encourage the manufacturers to produce a more efficient product. So regular evaluation each year, evaluation is conducted to the manufacturer's enterprises standard, and the best one is selected as the enterprises standard forerunners. In other words, we could be seen as the benchmark of the most energy efficiency. The next one, please. Implementation. So for our latest edition of maps, the maps we released last year, so the product has been actually mentioned in the standard. The product that has been delivered and imported before the implementation date of this standard may be marketed before June 30, 2021. That means for all the manufacturers, they have 2 years for the preparation to phase out all of the less efficient product. So yeah, that is implementation. The next one, please. Market impact. So as I just mentioned, we have 30 years experiences for the development and implementation of maps. So after this revision, after this update, I think it is a similar impact as we see before. That is, the first, the energy efficiency of a room air conditioners is improved significant. The less efficient product, especially for the almost all the fixed speed aircons, they are phasing out rapidly. And the second point is the product price goes up at the very beginning, but with more product being produced and deployed very fastly, the product price will go down rapidly to the normal price level based on our past years' experiences. And the third point is the technology update is being accelerated, since all the manufacturers, after the new maps released, they are pushed forward. They are encouraged to use much more advanced technology to produce air cons and to promote the air cons. Next one, please. And also, obviously, this new maps and labeling is very helpful for the promotion of energy efficient product. Because we know each year there are about 80 million room air cons are promoted in China. So actually, after this update for the maps, there are many measures and policies they are released for the implementation and promotion. For example, the local subsidy programs is launched for the promotion of air cons of grade 1 and grade 2, the most efficient ones. And also the local shopping allowance distributed through the apps and online retailers' websites for the promoting of the efficient product, because now we are during the pandemic. So also there are other policies like the Old for One is launched by the large online retailers like Jingdong, Suning, Gourmet. They are all the very, very big online retailers here in China. Subsidies are provided for the consumers who return the less efficient air cons to the retailers, and then they will got some discount. So also, I think that one of the biggest changes, one of the biggest achievement is that an increase and 30% increase in the energy efficiency of the air cons is expected by 2022. Okay, next one. Yeah, that's all. Thank you, Colin, and thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Liu Meng. This is Han Wei from Energy Foundation China. So we are very pleased to co-host this webinar together jointly with our partner CLASP and ICS from Brazil. So it's a really great pleasure to learn from India and Brazil colleagues about their efforts and the policy development of improved cooling efficiency in their countries. And also we are very pleased to share our lessons and development of China, the new maps for room air conditioners, which is just presented by Professor Liu Meng. Actually, there are 3 panelists from China side. Professor Liu Meng gave a brief introduction, and for sure he is able to answer all the questions relating to the revision of room AC. And we also have Dr. Li Pengcheng also from CNIS, who is an expert on the energy efficiency policy and program on air conditioner and cooling efficiency. And also we actually have Dr. Xia Yujian, who is responsible for the labeling program in China, the energy efficiency labeling program. So we'll have actually a couple of questions in the Q&A session. And for Dr. Liu, there's one that how China is envisaging the introduction of ACs with a low GWP reference in for the reference transition. And also another similar question is which are the alternative reference most adopted in China? So probably you can first give a reply on these 2 questions together.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Could you please repeat it, the first one?
So
I'm a
how
little
China,
lost.
okay, so how China is envisaging the introduction of ACs with low GWP refrigerants. And the
Okay.
second one actually is quite relative. Is the participants also want to know which are the most alternative refrigerants adopted in China. So these are two questions.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. If I understand correctly, both of them are about the low GWP refrigerant, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it. So yeah, first I want to thank Energy Foundation and CLASP and the other international partners. They have made great contributions during the past years for China maps and labeling. And actually, for both of them questions, I think they are very good questions and also very hard questions. So because during this revision for our maps, we have put the low GWP refrigerant things as one of the top priorities for our maps, and we have actually done a lot of the research with the industries and with research institute, and we have designed different plans for how to dealing with the low GWP refrigerant things in our energy efficiency standard. Because before that, every time when we revised our maps, we mainly focus on how to improve our energy efficiency. It's always our main goals. But now, we are facing the global warming things. So we also think now maybe it's the time to, combine them both together. I mean, combine the energy efficiency and combine the global warming things together. So as I said, we have different methods. We have done research on different methods and different plans. But finally, we realized, anyway, because based on our Chinese situation, first we need to phasing out the relatively low efficient product. Like I said, we will phase out our fixed speed air cons. I think if we could phase out the low efficient product rapidly, that would be a very, very big achievement for the energy efficiency and for the global warming both. So as I said, we expected an increase in energy. We expected a 30% increase in energy efficiency by 2022. That means we will improve the energy efficiency by 30% in 2 years. It's very great achievement. It will make contributions to the energy efficiency and to the low GWP refrigerant replacement both. So I think that's so far our plan to dealing with these things.
Thank you, Professor Liu Meng. Yeah, maybe we could, if Peng Cheng or Dr. Xia Jian also can add later on. And actually, I want to jump to another question. It's more about, I think it's a broad issue actually about the air quality issue. The participant says there's a analysis and report from Tsinghua University and ADB many years ago, about 7 years ago. So they mentioned there are 7 of the 10 most air polluted cities in China, such as Taiyuan, Beijing, Lanzhou, Chongqing. Yeah. So the question is, how do you think China could contribute to improve the air quality through the efforts of improving the building and the HVAC heating, air condition efficiency in these areas. Any program or policy or tools or mechanism so to counter such issue. So probably Peng Cheng or Dr. Xia Lijuan, Liu Meng, you can briefly respond to this question.
I would like to be the first one. I just noticed that the report is 7 years ago. I can tell you, I live in this city, Beijing, for 20 years. And 7 years ago, yes, maybe the things is like the report mentioned. So we have a challenge, a very big challenge from the pollution. But right now, if we don't have this pandemic, I would like to invite you to visit our city, to visit China, to visit many cities that had mentioned in this report. Because during the past years, all government and also the whole public, we all realize it's a very big challenge and it's a very big problem we should resolve. I mean, the air pollution. So we have done a lot to improve our air qualities, to done a lot for the challenge of the air pollution. So I would see right now in China, in many of the cities, the air qualities have been improved greatly. And like in Beijing, we can see the blue sky, I think, in most days of the year. So also HVAC, especially the air cons, we had done a lot to improve the energy efficiency of air cons. Because in China, I think also the similar thing, similar in the other part of China, the world, the energy consumption from the air cons are always one of the biggest one for the electricity consumption in summer in all the big cities, other countries. So that is why we update our maps again and again, and also with such great improvement. I mean, 30% increase in 2 years. So I think that's all measure, and that's all that's all the work we have done for improve the air quality. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Professor Liu Meng. Since we run out of the time, I know there's still one question about this the export regulation for the ACs, but probably we can answer offline. And thank you, Professor Liu Meng, and I will give the floor back to Eric and for next session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Han Wei and Professor Meng, for the informative and insightful presentations and the question and answer session as well. In the interest of time, I'm going to quickly introduce Brian Hawley. Brian is a program officer with the United Nations Environment Program's United for Efficiency initiative, where he leads their work on air conditioners and refrigerators. Brian is going to present an introduction to the U4E model regulation for air conditioners, which is largely based on the Chinese policy that we just heard about. Brian, you are the final presentation, but the room is still full with well over 80 people, so the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eric, and apologies if this is a bit choppy. I switched to my phone because my desktop internet's been cutting out, so if I run into issues, I'll drop video and just continue over audio. So the preceding presentations are fantastic because you're seeing decades of experience at work within the governments, within the partner organizations like CLASP being applied. And what we've been interested in is how do we take those kinds of examples, the very best practices from around the world, and distill them in a way that you can provide a starting point for other countries that are perhaps looking to revise MEPs or labels that they already have, or perhaps adopt them for the first time. So that was really the spirit behind the model regulation guidelines that we've developed. And I'll focus here just very quickly on the air conditioner side, but we also have these for refrigerating appliances, lighting, electric motors, and distribution transformers. Next slide, please. So first off, to try and figure out best practice, what's going on around the world and how is this done well, we've talked to many, many people. It was over a year-long process to pull together the content. And you can see here just the basic overview. I won't go through all of them. And these logos don't reflect all of the different reviewers. So again, it was over 60 different ones that we have listed in the documents. There were even more that contributed data or other insights, but they had to go through legal clearance or whatever it may be to list their organization. So we actually had a huge number of global experts weigh in on the development of the contents. Next slide, please. And now what I'll do is take you through at a very high level the basic contents. And you can find these documents on our website. I have a link in the final slide. But just on the air conditioner side, we're really targeting some of the most ubiquitous products out there, sometimes generically referred to as room air conditioners. And these go up to, in our case, we wanted coverage up to 16 kilowatts of cooling capacity, a little bit under 5 tons, to have a pretty broad range of coverage. Next slide, please. In terms of the test methods and other existing standards, we wanted to make sure that we were cross-referencing stuff that already exists. So the last thing we wanted to do was reinvent the wheel. It's really about looking at what already exists out there. And so again, here I won't step through all these different pieces, but you've got a basic overview of some of the key parameters that we were covering, the types of metrics that we've used. And again, you're going to see quite a few consistencies with what the experts from Brazil, China, India have already talked about. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we wanted to do was look not only at where are markets today or what are existing policies, but really where do we see markets headed. And this is on both the technology side. So questions had come in earlier today. What about R290 air conditioner units? How many are out there? What can we do in terms of promoting maybe certain types of technological advancements while remaining technology neutral? And so we looked at a lot of major economies, and where we landed on the air conditioner side is very close to China's progression with the currently confirmed enhancements to China's MEPs that are underway, and then anticipated future revisions that will follow. And so we took a sort of outward look over the coming years, tried to see where the major markets are headed, because the real philosophy is that for many economies around the world, they're technology receivers. They're going to be importing much of these products. And if you can tap into the economies of scale being created by China, India, Brazilian, EU type market interventions, the policies that they're setting, if you can peg to something similar, you can hopefully benefit from those same economies of scale and get some of the better, more efficient products that are out there. And a lot of the reactions that we get in countries where we work is they don't want to be dumping grounds for products that can't be sold elsewhere. Many countries are setting these kinds of regulations, doing incentives, and we wanted to sort of tap into that momentum and provide a snapshot of what's going on in the world. And a lot of this is captured in our underlying document called the supporting information document. It gets into the technologies, gets into the policies. And then from that, we developed the model regulations. So you'll see a few documents that lay out the rationale and then what we recommend. Next slide, please. So in terms of the types of information that should be listed on a product, we try to capture, again, key categories that you'd often see in legislation in a country when they're looking to regulate these kinds of products. But it could also be used for incentive schemes, voluntary type programs. So again, we just looked at general best practices. These are meant to be a starting point. Of course, any country would have to adapt such content for its own use. Next slide, please. So this is an important issue here on refrigerants. The issues come up multiple times here, and in the course of discussion, the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol is driving a global transition on the refrigerant gases that are used in vapor compression systems. And we wanted to tap into that, bring together the environmental ministries and the folks that are dealing with refrigerants, as well as the energy efficiency community, the energy folks that are trying to drive greater energy efficiency. And how do you bring those two elements of refrigerant transition together with energy efficiency improvements? And what you'll see recommended here are different levels that we've suggested as upper limits on the global warming potential of refrigerants. So we remain essentially technology neutral, but did try and put in some common sort of playing field that could be applied. And the other aspect I'd mention is that we were really looking at around a 2023 implementation timeframe. So this staggers a bit behind what you're going to see, say, China do on its policies on the efficiency front to allow a little bit of time for those products to be available widespread for export elsewhere. Next slide, please. And I'm on my last one, so should be good timing wise. I'm down to 1 minute left. So in terms of deployment, these have been getting rolled out significantly around the world, and with partners like CLASP, many other organizations, the World Bank has been referencing these as a potential basis for financing and technical assistance that they provide. We work in over 40 countries, and so we're using these as a basis for MEPS and labeling recommendations, government procurement schemes, and other things like that. And next slide, please. So you've got our contact information here. We do have the materials available in multiple languages, and we'll have some upcoming guidance coming out on labeling that complements the model regulation guidelines. And we also have a country savings assessment for over 150 countries, a tailored assessment for every country of what would happen from an energy and climate standpoint if they adopt the model regulation guidelines. So go to our website, check out those country savings assessments. Thank you for your time, and thank you so much to CLASP and the other speakers for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Brian. That was hyper efficient, very well done. For everyone's benefit, I want to mention that on June 16th, there was a webinar and a panel discussion on the development and implementation of model MEPS. So hopefully in the follow-up to this webinar, we can include the link so that if you weren't able to participate and learn more about the development and implementation of the model regulations that Brian just referred to, that is an excellent way to learn about it. We are at the end of this webinar, and it's getting quite late in Asia. I want you to know that we'll be sending out a follow-up email with a recording of this event and answers to any questions that we weren't able to get to during our Q&A. I want to thank everyone who helped participate and organize today's webinar, and all of the panelists who delivered such insightful and informative presentations. Please follow us on social media, sign up for our newsletters so that you can stay up to date on what we're doing at CLASP around the world, and join us for our upcoming virtual events like these. And also, please do fill out the post-webinar survey so that we can learn what we're doing well and what we can improve upon. And once again, thanks to everyone for joining in. I really enjoyed this, and I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. Really appreciate it. Take care. Be safe. Be well. Muito obrigado.